Okay, first off, make sure you put your name on this so that you can get credit on today's date, which is the 30th, and put your class period, please. We're looking at potential and kinetic energy. Anytime you have a potential and kinetic energy problem, make sure you identify the lowest point on the diagram and the highest point on the diagram. So the lowest letter is going to be where the least amount of potential energy, closest to the ground. Another way of saying potential energy when we're talking about height is gravitational potential energy. And the lower it is, the closer to the ground, the lower the potential energy, the lower the gravitational potential energy of that object. And just the opposite, the highest point is going to be where you have the greatest potential energy or greatest gravitational potential energy. That's where you're going to have the most stored energy. Potential energy, remember, is stored energy. Now let's talk about kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is energy in motion. It's energy that is moving. So you're going to have the greatest kinetic energy where you are moving the fastest, where you have the fastest speed. And of course, if you've ever been on a roller coaster, you know you're going the fastest at the very bottom of the tallest hill. The tallest hill is, of course, that first hill where Z is. So Y would be the greatest kinetic energy where you have the object going the fastest. Start at the top of the hill with the greatest potential energy. You go down the hill and you start to gain speed, which means you're increasing your kinetic energy and decreasing your gravitational potential energy. Greatest kinetic energy, least potential energy. Okay, just like any diagram that you get on a test, make sure you pay attention to the diagram. Look at the direction of the roller coaster. It's going from the right to the left, which is kind of backwards. For most of us, we usually think left to right because that's the way we read. And then, of course, we can tell that because the roller coaster always starts with the highest hill. It has to. That's the only way it would make it to the end. Right there at X, you're going to have about half potential, half kinetic. You still have some kinetic energy because it's still moving. You're up off the ground, so you still have potential energy. So that's going to be a combination of both right there. And then, of course, W, we're back down to the least potential energy, and we'll have kinetic energy there too. All right, let's do some definitions. Potential energy is stored energy. Like if you pull a rubber band and hold it, or if you raise something up and you put it up high off the ground, you have that stored energy of position. And kinetic energy is energy in motion. We said earlier, the faster an object is moving, the more kinetic energy it has. The more motion it has, the more kinetic energy it has. So a pot of boiling water, the molecules are going to be moving very fast, which is going to mean they're going to have a greater kinetic energy. Okay, let's look at this waterfall, and let's examine it, and let's label the diagram. That's always a perfect idea. You always want to dump anytime you get a question. Highest potential energy is going to be where you have the highest point, the highest elevation above ground. Well, the waterfall, of course, the top of the waterfall is where the highest point is, and of course that's the highest gravitational potential energy. At the bottom of the waterfall is where you have the highest kinetic energy. That's where the water molecules will be moving the fastest at the bottom right before they hit the lake or whatever river that is at the bottom of that waterfall. Right in the middle where you have F, you're about half and half when it comes to the gravitational potential energy and the kinetic energy. As you go down, you're losing gravitational, but you're gaining kinetic you're losing potential and you're gaining kinetic energy, so they're about equal right about halfway through. So where is the potential energy the greatest? Well, of course, we've already labeled the diagram. We know it is E. It's going to be at the top of the hill, top of the waterfall. Where is the kinetic energy the greatest? We've already labeled that as well. That's at the lowest point right before it hits the water. So it's going to the lake or the reservoir. It's going to be G. And then what is happening at F? F is about half potential, half kinetic, because the potential has been decreasing as you get closer to the bottom, and the kinetic increased because the water molecules got faster, so they gained kinetic energy. Okay, don't forget the boxes at the top of some of these pages in the gray. These are important. We're kind of throwing back a little bit. What forces cause the movement of tectonic plates resulting in geological events such as earthquake? Well, the only force that is going to cause a change in motion or movement is unbalanced. We have said that multiple times. Unbalanced forces are going to create a change in motion. That is the only way you get a change in motion. All right, let's look at Katniss here. Katniss has a bow and arrow. She's pulling the string, which changes the bow's shape and stores that elastic potential energy, that stored energy because of the stretch of that bow and the change in the shape. The farther she pulls, the more potential energy she is giving that bow, because it's that way the arrow will go faster. You increase the potential energy. What two factors have the greatest influence on potential energy? Potential, of course, is mass and distance, or height above the ground. So if I have a big giant boulder and I hold it high above the ground, that boulder is going to have a lot more potential energy than a small pebble would from that same height. Label the diagrams with the locations of the most and the least potential energy and the most and least kinetic. Again, where do we find the most potential? It's always the highest point above the ground. A, of course, is the highest point on that track, so A is where you're going to have the most potential energy. The least kinetic, because at A, you're pretty much stopped. You're not moving at all. And then you go down the track. Of course, where are you going to be going the fastest? You're going to be going the fastest at the bottom of the hill, which is C. That's going to be the best place to have the most speed, most kinetic energy, and obviously the least potential because that's actually almost on the ground. Swing over here. Let's look at this one. Where are we the highest? Where do we have the most potential energy? Of course, at A. We are the highest off the ground, and if you've ever been on a swing, hopefully you all have, you stop for just a split second at that very top, and then you start coming down. Where are you going the fastest? You're going the fastest right there at B when you cross before you start to swing up on the other side. That's where your potential energy is the least, you're closest to the ground, and your kinetic energy is the greatest because you're moving the fastest. Again, guys, we're modeling how to dump on questions. It's very important. You need to get in the habit of doing that. It's going to help you be more successful. Number 1, students are investigating changes from potential to kinetic energy by rolling a marble down a ramp made by propping up a plastic ruler on a book and letting it roll down. So we have a book, we have a marble, and we have a plastic ruler using and working as the ramp. Question is, which of the following will change the potential energy the marble starts with? Well, what is the greatest influence on potential energy? We just said that. Mass and height above ground, or position. So let's see. The letter A. Switching the plastic ruler with a wooden one. That is not going to affect the mass or the height. That is just a dumb answer. Letter B. Adding more books beneath the ruler. Well, what's going to happen if we add more books? We're going to be higher. Our ramp is going to be higher off the ground. That will definitely increase our potential energy. That's probably a really good answer. Letter C, pushing the marble down the ramp. No, that's adding your own mechanical energy and to the system, and that's cheating. Letter D, replacing the marble with a rock. First of all, the rock's not going to roll like the marble will, and you're looking to change the potential energy of the marble. So replacing it with a rock is going to change the potential energy of the rock, and your marble is gone. So the best answer is definitely B. Number 2, write potential or kinetic after the appropriate example. So we've got a little tiny swimming pool here. We've got a guy on a diving board. Is he moving? No, he is not. Is he high above the ground? Yes, he is. So he is definitely potential energy. He's just all that energy waiting to be released once he jumps off the board. Girl swimming laps. Is she moving? Moving, definitely kinetic. Anything that's moving is going to have kinetic energy. All right, lifeguard holding the volleyball. He's just simply holding the volleyball, not moving. No movement means all potential. The only way to have any kinetic at all is with movement. And then the lady hitting the volleyball, well, you're hitting something, you're moving, so that is definitely kinetic. Okay, let's look at some graphs. What distance time graphs? What are some units we use for distance? Of course, we use miles. That's the most common here in the United States. Everywhere else in the world, kilometers is really common. Inches, of course, centimeters. In science, we use centimeters and meters a lot. Feet is another one that you guys are familiar with. Yards, those are all different distance units. Over here, what units do we use for time? Of course, we've got seconds. We have minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, all of those. Lots and lots of them. Time distance graph. Always look at the axes. It's important to label them, circle them, make sure that you recognize not only what the axes are labeled, but also what the units are. So in this case, we've got distance, which is kilometers, and time in minutes. So the speed that is being graphed here was measured in kilometers per minute. So let's look and see what was happening. We did this in class with our motion graphs, and so just remember, how did you make the line go up, like from 0.0 to B? How did you make that line? You had to move away from the start, and you had to move away from the start at a constant rate. So from A to B, right there, we're moving away from the start at a constant speed. The distance that we traveled in that amount of time was 3 kilometers, and it took us 15 minutes to travel that 3 kilometers. Then at B, look what happens at B. At B, we did not move any more kilometers for that next 5 minutes. So we were at rest. A flat line on a distance time graph shows no moving forward. We just stopped. Then at C, we started moving again, but look what happened. Our line is a lot more steep, which indicates that we have a greater speed. So from C to D, we moved a whole from 3 to 9, so 6 kilometers away from the start, and it took us about 10 minutes to do that. So remember, in the first section, we moved 3 kilometers in 15 minutes. In the second section, we moved 6 kilometers in 10 minutes. We went a lot farther, a lot quicker. And then at D, of course, we're back to stop. We're at 9 kilometers from the start, and we didn't move anymore. So we stood there for the next 15 minutes, it looks like, from 30 to 45. And then at E, whoa, the line's going to go down. So we're moving from 9 kilometers back to 0. So we're moving back to our starting position. And we went a whole 9 kilometers, and it took us about 15 minutes to go back to the start.